about smokers. Everyone thinks smoking is about addiction, about nicotine, about weakness. They're all missing the point. Here's what's actually happening inside a smoker's mind. You're stressed, anxious, maybe heartbroken. Your mind is screaming, and you light up. Not because your body needs nicotine, because your mind needs an exit. In that moment, smoking doesn't feel like self-harm. It feels like self-protection. Your brain floods with dopamine, but not because you're happy, because you just avoided pain, even if just for 3 minutes. And here's where it gets psychological. Your brain takes notes every single time. Emotional pain equals cigarette equals relief. Do this enough times and your brain rewires itself. The next time stress hits, your brain doesn't search for solutions, it searches for cigarettes. This is what psychologists call conditioned emotional response. But it goes deeper. The flick of the lighter, the rhythm of the inhale, even the smell of smoke. It all becomes a ritual your mind mistakes for safety. People who smoke aren't just addicted to nicotine, they're addicted to what smoking represents: control, pause, escape. Let me show you what this looks like. Sarah, 38 years old, smoked for 20 years. Her therapist asked her one question: "What were you feeling the first time you ever smoked?" She paused. "My parents were fighting. I was alone in my room, scared." "And what did the cigarette do?" "It gave me something to do with my hands, something to focus on. I felt less alone." There it was. For 20 years, Sarah wasn't smoking to feel good. She was smoking to not feel bad. This is the psychology of smokers. They're not running toward pleasure, they're running away from pain. And their brain? It's been keeping score. Every time they felt overwhelmed and lit up, the brain reinforced it. Every time they celebrated and lit up, reinforced. Every time they were bored and lit up, reinforced. The brain built a highway. Emotion leads to cigarette, leads to relief. And now that highway is 10 lanes wide. But here's what makes smokers different from non-smokers. Non-smokers sit with discomfort. They ride it out. Smokers don't. They've trained their brain to believe discomfort is dangerous. So the brain screams, "Get the cigarette now." It's not about willpower, it's about wiring. Scientists did a study. They put smokers and non-smokers in stressful situations. Non-smokers, cortisol spiked and gradually came down. Smokers, cortisol spiked higher and stayed elevated longer, even after smoking. Why? Because smoking doesn't actually reduce stress, it reduces the symptoms of nicotine withdrawal. The smoker's brain interprets relief from withdrawal as stress relief. It's a trick, but the brain falls for it every time. Here's another layer. People who smoke often have what psychologists call low distress tolerance. They struggle to sit with negative emotions, anxiety, boredom, sadness. The cigarette becomes their emotional regulator. Bad day at work, cigarette. Fight with partner, cigarette. Feeling empty, cigarette. It's not a habit, it's a coping mechanism. And over time, smokers lose the ability to cope without it. Their emotional toolkit shrinks to one tool, the cigarette. This is why quitting feels impossible. You're not just fighting nicotine, you're fighting years of psychological conditioning. Your brain genuinely believes it needs cigarettes to survive emotional pain. But here's where it gets hopeful. Sarah's therapist gave her an assignment. Next time you crave a cigarette, sit still for 5 minutes. Don't fight it, just observe it. What will that do? It'll teach your brain that feelings pass, even without cigarettes. First time, she lost in 90 seconds. Her hands shook, her chest tightened, but she didn't smoke. Second time, 3 minutes. By the 10th time, something shifted. The craving came. She sat with it. After 5 minutes, it passed. Her brain learned something new. We can survive this. The highway started to crack. This is called extinction learning. Your brain slowly realizes the old pattern isn't necessary, but it only happens when you stop running. So here's the psychology of people who successfully quit. They don't fight cravings, they sit with them. They don't shame themselves, they observe themselves. They don't white knuckle through withdrawal, they teach their brain a new response. Every time they feel the pull and don't light up, they're not just resisting, they're rewiring. Their brain is building a new pathway. Stress doesn't need cigarettes. Sadness doesn't need cigarettes. Boredom doesn't need cigarettes. But that pathway only gets built through repetition, one uncomfortable moment at a time. So here's what the psychology of smokers really tells us. They're not weak, they're trapped in a loop. They're not lacking discipline, they're lacking emotional tools. And they're not choosing to smoke, their brain is choosing for them. But the loop can break the moment they stop running from discomfort and start sitting with it. That's not just quitting smoking, that's rewiring the mind. That's the beginning of psychological freedom.